Hello everybody, my name is Link and welcome back to Echo! On the last episode we decided we're really, there was a falling out, and now we're gonna follow Carl. We're gonna go through some archive shit. So let's get this shit started. It's a good idea to hang out with Carl today. After texting back and forth with Leo, I learned that he's actually planning a birthday party for the Ram. It's a little weird since Carl's birthday isn't for another month, but I guess it's just an excuse to have a party. Leo tells me to keep Carl... By the way, we're getting our siding done on our house, so in case you hear random fucks banging on my wall for no goddamn reason, and they didn't tell me that they were going to be doing this shit, but no, they're just going to wake me up at 8 o'clock in the morning, fucking, guess what, we're just going to break down your fucking wall, so guess what, that's what the fuck's going on in your damn life. Glad you knew about that shit, didn't ya? So fucking, Carl's escaped distracted for the day while they go shopping for decorations and gifts. He also tells me that he'll get my gift for Carl, which is fine with me. TJ's pretty bummed, though, considering he throws off his hiking plans, but Jenna promises him they'll at least hike half the trail. I want to talk to him, but he's acting pretty cold towards me, probably because I'm bailing on my promise to go with him. Aw. I drive to Carl's house because it's pretty far separated from the rest of Echo, up against the foothills of the Casa Demonio mountain range. It'd probably take me 15 minutes to get up there, but there's no way in hell I'm doing that in this heat uphill when I've got a car. The main reason it's separated like this is because Carl's house is a mansion. Ooh. Carl's family is loaded, a legacy that's followed them ever since Carl's great whatever struck it rich over 100 years ago. James Hendricks eventually went on to start an ice cream business, which at this point has spread out over most of the western half of the country. Carl's mom is the CEO, I think. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably get some shots of the mansion considering its role in the town's history. Most of the old mansion has been demolished at this point, but I think parts of it are still from their original structure. Probably best to ask first, though. I walk up to the front door and ring the doorbell, listening to its fancy chime inside. I wait for about a minute, starting to wonder if Carl's asleep or just high off his ass, when I hear some voices from behind the house. I'm definitely recognizing the crackly timbre of Carl's voice, along with the higher tenor of Flynn's. Higher tenor? Flynn is a tenor voice? Shit, I've been doing this voice for him the whole time. Well, I ain't changing that shit. I head around the house, stepping carefully through the desert landscaping and walking into the backyard. 'Cause you want to make out with him? No, because you like to make things weird. I just want it to be relaxed. That's when Carl notices me as I round the corner, clutching my camera bag to my side. Who you want to make out with? He's leaning over a bush with a great set of clippers while Flynn lounges up against the wall watching him. Whoa, Chase! Carl's ears perk and he grins. Sorry, Flynn. Carl rolls his big head at the lizard. Was supposed to be watching for you. Flynn doesn't look at me right away, instead choosing to pull the toothpick he's chewing on out of his muzzle to look at it. He's still embarrassed about yesterday. Good. That's alright. It wasn't hard to hear you guys from the front. Yeah, just doing some yard work, obviously. He rubs behind his head. Promised my parents to get this done before they get back. Carl starts snipping at the bush again. He's unusually sharp right now. I'm guessing it's because he hasn't had anything to smoke. Either way, it's just jarring to see him so animated. Well, looks like you're doing a good job. Oh, he's only moving this fast because he wants to hang out with you, Chase. Even though the sentence is technically being said to me, I feel Flynn's directing it at Carl. Carl furrows his brow. Chase, you can go inside if you want. The back's open. I think that's a good idea because it's clear now that I've walked in on an argument. You should have seen him a few minutes ago. It was like he had a girlfriend coming over. Carl sighs loudly and his snips start to get a bit more violent. No, I'm just glad to have some company that isn't only you, Flynn. Flynn looks annoyed and that annoys me. You really didn't have the right to be frustrated with anyone after yesterday. Really? Always seemed to be enough for you in the past. Flynn makes a kissy face. I have no idea if this is one of their inside jokes or not. Carl stops sniffing for a second and starts up again more slowly. Well, you know, lizards can be fun, but they don't have all the parts that I like, if you know what I mean. This is getting very forward. Carl smirks sideways at Flynn. Flynn sneers back, and though I've decided that they're still joking, there's definitely a growing tension between them. What you saying there, Carl? Carl stops snipping and plants and points the clippers into the ground, leaning on it as it turns to face Flynn. What I'm saying is that you got no ball. Before Carl can finish a sentence, Flynn turns the right away from him. Zazzle brings his fat tail around to slam into Carl's crotch with a whop that makes me cringe. Ooh! Carl jumps and squeaks before toppling to the ground. Oh man, my nuts! Yeah, definitely wish I had those, all dangly vulnerable and shit. Anyway, I'll leave you two sluts alone. God damn! Flynn sticks his toothpick back in his muzzle, and I have to watch constantly to cover my crotch as he walks by me. He hasn't looked at me this whole time. Once Flynn's gone, I sidle up to Carl, who's been curled up on the ground, holding himself while he mutters under his breath. You alright? Fuck no! There's not really anything I can do, so I rub his shoulder with a toe comfortingly as he freezes up as I do, looking at my foot. I'm alright, though. He gets himself into a sitting position before he gets up awkwardly, now standing bow-legged. I forgot how much Flynn likes to hit people in the nuts. I'll get him back. It still hurts him if you hit hard enough. As he stands there doubled over with his paws on his knees, I look around. Carl's house has actual grass in the back, which is rare in Echo. Most people either zero-scape or just let the sagebrush take over. Another rarity are two tall trees on the other side of the yard. That's when I notice how empty one of them looks. Hey, where'd the treehouse go? Carl follows my gaze. Oh yeah, my dad took it down a few years ago. It was falling apart. His dad also built the treehouse. I can remember hanging out up there, playing on our portable game consoles with a fun fan at full blast. Even when it was still almost too hot to hang out up there. Even then it was too hot. God damn it. I walk to the base of the tree and put my hand against the trunk, grinning. Man, remember all that shit we did up there? Carl shuffles up next to me, still bow-legged, and grins too. Yeah, good times. Still, I think about climbing it, but I noticed that the branch we used as a foothold had been cut off. Your dad ruined this thing. Carl scrapes at the spot where the branch used to be with a hoof. Yeah, I guess it made the mowing harder, and we didn't use it anymore, so we just cut it off. You can see Carl's looking for a way up, too, and soon enough, his eyes settle on a branch just above his head. I don't know if Carl's already jumping on to grab on the branch with both paws, but it doesn't look very sturdy. Dude, that's gonna break. So, I'm fucking fat, I'll bounce. Oh, gee, hey, there we go. That's a thumbnail-worthy image if ever there was one. I don't know how I'm gonna make this into a thumbnail, but whatever. We're clearly looking at his tum. I'm about to tell him again that the branch is definitely gonna break when I notice his shirt riding up all the way over his round belly. It's not like he has a bag of lard. It's not like he's a bag of lard, though. It's a controlled type of gut, held tight with the muscles underneath pulling it in as he flexes. He notices me staring right away and kicks out at me playfully. Pervert, first my moves and now this. I jump back and he tries to follow me with a bigger swing of his legs, and that's when the branch snaps loudly. Oh shit. Carl goes down once again, landing squarely on his back. Ouch. Oof. Cover my face instinctively, but I still hear the hollow thud, followed by the whoosh of breath going out of his lungs. Slowly I lower my paws and find the chubby ram rolling back and forth on the ground, eyes wide as his mouth hanging open. A distant memory comes to mind of a time when we were both 10 and Carl was showing me a trick with his new bike ramp. The handlebars ended up in his gut, and he landed when he spent the following minute rolling around on the ground just like this. Good times. Shit. I suck in air through my teeth and kneel next to him again, patting him uselessly. After a few seconds of hesitation, I reach over and grab the front of the waistband of his shorts and pull up on it. Even though he's completely deflated, he looks at me with a bizarre expression and swats at my paw, giving a few breathless snorts as he tries to laugh. Hey, it's supposed to help you breathe. I've seen the coaches do it at school. I'm realizing that Carl's way too heavy to arch up like that, so I give up and end up just petting his stomach, wishing I could help somehow. Just stretch out. His breath is already coming back, but he follows my instruction anyway as we sit there for a while, the silence punctuated by his heavy breathing. I start laughing. Jesus Christ, Carl, can you go one day without hurting yourself? He chuckles too, his belly shaking under my paw. You know why I don't go outside. Ugh. He slumps back for a while, taking in deep breaths before lifting his head again. He looks down his chest at my paw and grins. Seems like you can't take your paws off me, though. I move my paw, letting him pull down his shirt as he grunts and sits up. How would I just let you suffocate next time? I almost did, laughing while I couldn't breathe. I thought you were trying to grab my dick. You dick! Put my paws on my hips. It's because I'm gay. That might just be it. Carl grabs the branch that had broken off the tree and quirks up the corner of his mouth. Dad's not gonna be happy about that. Who cares? Just a branch. You know my dad. He gets up and tosses the branch over the fence into the desert, then turns back to me. So now that it feels like Lucha fucking Lobo just gave me the whatever the fuck, I think I'm done for the day. Wanna work on your project now? I'd honestly rather just hang out here with Carl, but Son's enough to put a damper on that. Carl's house is like a labyrinth. I think he once told me that it's over 30 rooms, which is fucking insane. The living room is about 5 times larger than the one in my parents' house, and it's hard to miss what looks like a 100-inch flat screen against the wall. God damn. According to Carl, the first mansion was even bigger, though. After getting a drink, he leads me straight downstairs into the basement. Down the hallway, we pass a small home theater that what looks like an entertainment room with a bar and a small gym. The quick glance I get shows at least 10 fitness contraptions. After that, things get a little more dingy, and I can see how portions of the foundation could be decades old. Finally, we end up at the end of the hall. Carl opens up a door, and we can see from the ceiling that it's right under the stairs we came down on. Carl waves his paw around and finally grasps at something before pulling it down. An old light bulb comes on, and I can see there's a little door with a small latch on it. He opens it, and I'm greeted with a musty smell as Carl slides through the opening. I follow tentatively, making sure I'm not walking into any cobwebs. Are there a lot of spiders down here? I don't think so. We sprayed a few weeks ago. It's extremely dark, and I hear Carl grunting next to me. There's a floodlight around here somewhere. Here it is. Ugh. Like everything in this house, it's big for a crawl space. Pillars sprout from the ground in 2 rows that stretch back almost into darkness. The ground is covered in a tarp, and I see dozens of plastic bins lining the walls. There's a lot of shit. Yep, it's a few generations worth of shit. I walk over the tarp to look into one of the bins, but all I can see is clumps of cloth and towel through the cloudy plastic. Carl walks up past me towards the back of the crawl space, his big hoofs clopping along loudly. I actually helped him sort through all this stuff last year, so I think I know where it is. I follow him, but it's hard to see in the darkness. Should we get a flashlight? Nah, it's only 2 tubs, I think. We'll just pull him to the front. I stand off to the side and I watch him push bins around, looking at the labels on top. I look over at one of them and see Home Movies written on it with several cassettes. Don't remind me. I look up and see Carl noticing me staring at the bin. What? Carl grunts as he lifts up a bin and drops it pretty carelessly into the floor. I'm pretty sure I hear something break. Mom had me help her convert all that to digital. Took a fucking year. Wow. Yeah, it's in the cloud now. You're actually in a lot of those videos. Oh, really? Yeah, birthday parties and shit. Of course I would be. Carl's dad practically had a video camera glued to his eye back in the day. I used to hang out with Carl as much as I did Leo once we started going out. I even went on their family vacation a few times. But then me going out with Leo changed things. Looking back, I think Carl was kind of unhappy with that. We can watch a few once we're done here if you want. Oh, sure. Sounds like an old person thing to do, but I am curious. Found it! Carl slides out 2 plastic bins. I see history written on top. Help me carry one. Carl lifts up the top one and starts waddling back to the front. I bend over and lift the second one. I'm surprised at how fucking heavy it is. I'm worried I'm not even going to get it off the ground for a few seconds, but I manage after a while. If Carl's been as heavy as mine, then he's a fucking beast at being able to lift and carry like that. I stagger after him. I'm almost certain I'm going to head first into a wall. Once we make it back to near the stairs, I bend over to set down my bin, and that's when I see a massive spider sting on the lid. Oh, Jesus! It takes about half a second for me to recognize the black shape and its spindly legs. Oh, fuck! I scream and drop the bin, and before I know it, I'm halfway back from where we came, panting and shivering. Holy shit, what happened? I tremble and try to steady my voice. A fucking spider! What, you're just really still scared of those? Man, for a second I thought my sister come home and then got murdered. You told me there weren't any! I didn't say that, I said we sprayed. Just get rid of it! At this point, I've shuffled a little closer back to the light, and I can see Carl grinning as he bends over to look at the lid of the bin. Whoa, it's got babies on its back! My body gives a violent, involuntary spasm, and I shake my paws like a fucking girl. Stop it! He glances up at me with a stupid smile still on his face. Wow, that was gay. But seriously, it's got a bunch of tiny babies on its back. I think it's a wolf spider. I swear I'm gonna pass the hell out if he doesn't stop talking. I cover my face. Please! Alright, I didn't know you're that scared of them. You should get that checked out. Considering that I almost crashed my car into the garage of my parents' house when a spider crawled out of the AC, he's probably right. Just kill it! Why would I do that? I watch as he tilts the bin sideways. It's not gonna hurt anyone. I want to tell him that those babies are probably gonna grow into 100 more giant wolf spiders, but I realize I'd just come off as a bloodthirsty asshole, so I bite my lip as I watch the black spots skitter off into the darkness. I walk back towards Carl, hugging my shoulders as I try to control the chills running through me. Now I'm going to be paranoid the whole time that it's going to come back out to get me. Carl rubs my back when I stand next to him. You know, they actually clean up a lot of the other bugs that get into the house. Yeah, well, I'd rather be covered in ants than spiders. It's clear he's trying not to laugh at me as he starts popping the lid off his bin. On the top there are a few framed pictures, and under those are a few more cardboard boxes. I realize those latches on the other bin, keeping my eye out for any black spiders that might jump out at me. This one is filled with bundles wrapped in cloth and paper. Carl drags his bin to the steps so that he can sit on them, and I follow suit. So how do you think you'll use all this stuff? I'd wrap a smaller bundle and look at the gold pocket watch underneath. Wow, well, not totally sure. Depends on what we find. Might film a few things. There's a paper tag attached to the chain with Robert Hendricks written on it. Who's this? Carl gives it a glance. No idea. Probably a great uncle or something. Wrap the pocket watch and reach back into the bin and pull out another item. There's something really cool about old stuff. My mind wanders to who might have had it, and who bought it, and how much shit it must have seen. History was my first choice to major in, but Dad put a stop to that pretty quick. I pull out various other things, dolls, pipe, coins, and another pocket watch. I feel like this is worth a lot of money. Why don't they sell it? Probably, but it's all family stuff, and I still think they want to do the museum. He gives an awkward cough. Besides, we already got plenty of money. He's got the binder... Good for fucking you, by the way. He's got the binder open, looking at black and white photos behind the plastic. Hey, this is him, right? He points at a picture of a very dignified-looking ram, thumbs in his vest, wearing one of those big top hats. A fox stands next to him in a similar pose. I can see a piece of yellowed paper sit behind the photo and tug it out. James Hendricks, yep, definitely him. And John Begay, huh? That's Jenna's last name. Carl's phone starts buzzing and he grunts and leans to pull it out of his pocket. Hey, Mom. Help a chase with this project? No, what? Of course not. I look over at him and he gets up and clops back up the steps. Looking back down at the picture, I wonder if it's just a coincidence, but I don't think so. Jenna's family has been in Echo since the beginning, too, so this guy's definitely has to be a relative of some kind. I take a picture of the photograph with my phone, and I'll show it to Jenna later, ask if she knows anything about it. Do that without a car? Carl raises his voice, so I look back up the steps, wondering if I should close the door. Hearing him angry like that just didn't feel right. His parents were always hard on him, but I guess they had their reasons. I spent the next 20 minutes shuffling through the bins, trying to be careful not to break anything. I decide I have enough and put the lids back on the bins, lining the stuff I picked out alongside the steps, since I didn't have anywhere else to put them. By the time I head back up into the actual basement, Carl's gone. As I approach Carl's room, I smell it before I even I open the door. He's reclined on his bed, an arm thrown over his face, the big window above him open. Clothes are scattered all over the floor, along with a few empty water bottles and bowls. Every inch of the walls are covered in posters, like I remember, along with a few on the ceiling. Bookcases line the opposite wall, filled to the brim with comics and toys. He raises his arm as I walk in and smiles. Sorry about the mess, dude. It's hard to keep up with everything clean when the parents aren't here to yell at me about it. The lazy, crackly sound in his voice has returned to full force. His eyes are distant. It's okay. Are you okay? He grins toothily. Dude, I'm more than okay. Since there is nowhere else to sit, I end up sitting down on the foot of his bed. Do they let you smoke in here? The smell of the room is layered and old, and like the walls have been blanketed in the smell several times before. Yep, they gave up trying to stop me. Better to be in the house rather than get caught by some cop outside. They just made me promise that I wouldn't ever try something harder. Good thing they don't know I've already tried dick. What the He puts a lot of emphasis on the K, as the bad joke seems to just dribble out of his muzzle. I lean back on the bed, and that's when I notice his flat screen, just a 48-inch, is on. A list of video files is displayed on it. What you watching? Oh! Carl grunts as he sits up and reaches for a game controller. Our old home movies. Was going to show you some of them. How about a birthday? Sure. He scrolls down the list and then stops when Carl's 8th is highlighted and presses play. The backyard I was in an hour earlier pops up on screen. Now a long table sits in the middle of the lawn, along with a massive bounce house. It's not just any bounce house, but a giant 2-story one that you could find at a state fair. The video is time-stamped, April 19th, 2002. Fuck, I remember this. There was about 20 kids, mostly in the bounce house, and most of whom I've forgotten. Right now, though, the camera's zooming in on an 8-year-old Carl. He's messing with a giant Nerf gun, the kind that no kid ever gets because they're so damn expensive. And that's when 8-year-old me enters the picture, holding a much smaller Nerf gun. His parents gave everybody a goodie bag that day. It had toys in it I might not have been able to get on my own birthday. My kid self puts the gun to Carl's head and pulls the trigger, the dart bouncing off one of his horns. I specifically remember that moment. I had thought the suction end of the dart was going to stick, but of course it didn't. The other was filled with a deep chuckle, Carl's dad behind the camera. You were a dick back then. Well, I was 8. Still, you blew out my candles. Yeah. Got so mad about that. I start to settle back and smile. It's been a long time since I've watched a home movie, and I've forgotten how nice it is to have this method of looking back. Kinda like when I got stuck on scrolling through all the old images on my phone. My younger self is trying to help Carl with the gun, lifting up the barrel and looking into the opening. Careful! Kid Chase pulls his head back with a jolt as Carl's dad yells and mutters behind the camera. Let's see how long it takes for him to trick Carl into trading with him. Carl's dad sounded exasperated, but good-natured. It still makes me blush a bit, now knowing how aware Jim was of my taking advantage of his son. Our struggles with the Nerf gun gets the attention of another kid, though. My breath catches in my throat as Sydney bounces into frame. I can feel Carl tensing up next to me, too, and he starts to lean on the game controller. And here comes the Mormon boy! The disgust in Carl's voice shocks me as I hear Carl whisper a curse next to me as he fumbles for the controller. Sydney reaches out and pulls the gun away from Carl as he looks over, grinning. Hey! Suddenly the screen switches back to the file menu and we both sit there in silence for a few seconds. Sorry, I guess I forgot about that. Of course Sydney was going to be at that party, but I'd honestly forgotten too. If there was any way to perfectly ruin the mood, that had been it. I glance over at Carl to see him looking down at the gamepad, ears lowered, and the inside's red. Hey, it's okay. I mean, maybe it's a good thing to watch. My dad, I didn't even know he said that. I'd rather not find out what else he said. Yeah. I look around, trying to find something, anything to distract us from what just happened. My eyes fall on the shelves holding Carl's game library. Wanna play a game? It's just like old times as we co-op through Winter Castle. The fact that he still has the old save files from when he was in college makes it all the more nostalgic. I get so into it that it gets dark outside without me even knowing, and pretty soon I'm looking out at the purple sky reluctantly. About time I go back. Carl sighs and pauses the game before stretching and dropping the controller onto his bed. Oh, come on, sure you can't stick around? I don't know, I don't have any clothes or a toothbrush. We can walk over and get them. Carl seems pretty determined to make me stay, and there's no reason why I can't, so I relent. Alright, yeah, this could be fun. Yes! Carl looks happy and almost relieved. It'll just be like old times. He rolls to his hooves. Speaking of old times, let's make a pizza. Suddenly caught Carl's enthusiasm. We go into his massive kitchen. Oh, God, I want a big kitchen. And pulls a big frozen pizza out from the fridge, and while it bakes, we sit at the counter and talk. At this point, the haze of pot has lifted from Carl's face, and he's animated and excited again, swiveling on one of the counter stools. For the first time in almost 10 years, I'm giddy and excited in a way you can only get when you're at a sleepover. It makes it a little jarring when he pulls out some beers, but I'm happy we have a few, and we guzzle them down when we talk about past sleepovers. As we talk about them. Pretty soon, our reminiscing drifts into the present and that's the conversation slows a bit, Carl having less to say. I try to change the subject and tell him that he should come back to school. He just smiles and shakes his head. 3 hours later, we're both laying back on Carl's bed, head to toe, having just watched a shitty action movie. We didn't end up going out to get my stuff, so I'm just in my boxers, pleasantly drowsy and buzzed. I hear Carl snuffle, and I look down at my chest at him. What's up? Looks over at me and shrugs. Nothing, just thinking. What about? During our past sleepovers, Carl had always been afraid to be the last to fall asleep. He'd try to keep me up by talking, rolling over on top of me, and sometimes just by throwing shit at me. I wonder if that's what he's doing now. I don't know. Life? That's a lot to think about. Not for me. I look over at him again. He's holding one paw up, looking through his fingers at the ceiling fan. You're just figuring things out. Carl lets his arm flop down over his head, blowing out a sigh. I'm not figuring things out, man. I don't say anything. It's cool he's reaching out to me, but I'm not sure I can offer any advice that he hasn't heard before. I just wish I could be doing something. I think for a moment. You've done a lot more than some people I know. I mean, your art is great, and you did go to school even if you dropped out. When you're working while you could. And you were working while you could. And there are a lot of people out there who can't even say that. Carl laughs, but it's kind of a sad laugh. Try saying that to my mom. She's always got something to do. Always wants to do something. I just don't feel that. He turns his head towards me. I wish I did, Chase, but I just can't. His voice catches in his throat, and I shrink a bit into the bed and pretend not to notice. The brew we've had is definitely partly to blame for this. He turns his head towards the wall, though, and I'm guiltily relieved that when he talks again, his voice is under control. I just wish it wasn't such a goddamn chore for me to just go outside, you know? I didn't know, but I nod anyway, even if he can't see. He's waiting for me to say something, though, so I clear my throat. You have a problem? That could be like, you have a problem, but you can work through it, or you're fucked up. Like, I can't be sure of that being fine, so if I say it's fine, that could also be dismissive, and god damn it. But it's fine has the better chance of being okay, so... You know, Carl, some people are just like that. He looks down at me, but doesn't say anything. If it's so hard to get out, then just don't. People figure things out eventually, and if you always just want to stay home, then do that. Just try to figure out a way to sustain yourself. That's pretty much the gist of what my therapist told me. Do what makes you happy. He watches me for a few seconds. So is that all those problems you had taken care of now? I hope so. We lay in silence for a while before I finally speak up. Listen, I'll probably come back a few times this week to work with that history stuff. Well, why don't we go out and do something? That would be nice. I grin, glad to be making Carl feel better. Cool, let's plan on it. Carl puts his paws behind his head and he smiles. It's cool that you're here, Chase. It's cool to be here, Carl. And not just because it's nice to have someone to talk to. Huh? No, this house is fucking haunted. That's not cool. Christ. Something's happening. I don't remember falling asleep, but it's at that moment that something wakes me up. What wakes me up? I'll find out in the next episode. Thank y'all for watching, and until then, ladies and gentlemen, oh God, I've been the Trained Professional speaking for the voices in my head when I say until next time, fare thee well. Bye, everyone. God damn. Oh, I do this to myself as much as I do it to you.